John, do you ever just feel like God has abandoned us?
Well, you did ask me to play on the ball, so yes.
We have an on-the-ball prototype today. So this is a weird one. It's kind of like a cross between one of those like Marble Labyrinth physical games.
Yeah,
like
where you
kids
tilt
games.
the thing and it would move the marble around through it.
Kind of like a cross between one of those and the special stages in Sonic the Hedgehog 1. It's a little bit funky. I actually first learned about this on SNES Drunk's channel.
Do love his channel.
Yes, and then I never expected to actually see a prototype of it though. This game was originally a Taito arcade game named Cameltry. I think that's how it's pronounced, Cameltry. But they renamed it to On the Ball because they decided to go from one weird name that didn't describe it to another weird name that ultimately didn't describe it.
I was gonna say On the Ball kind of works.
There's a ball.
It gets close.
There's
It's closer.
There's a ball. So from the name, it absolutely seems like a sports game. And in fact, the owner, who, by the way, dumped it and then still sent it to us, so didn't even send it over to dump for us to dump it. They just sent it because they're like, hey, do you want to showcase it? I'm like, yeah.
Hell yeah. We love prototypes.
Yes.
It's awesome to touch them.
Yeah.
Get hands-on with them.
Get on the ball. The owner found this in a random bin of sports games. So whoever owned it before them probably just thought that it was a sports game, you know, with like the label missing, and someone put the like a label maker label on it. I was like, oh, it's just a sports game, throw it in the bin.
Whoa, what's up with the screws? Yeah, they're like little tiny Phillips heads that you'd use like the little jeweler's bits for.
Yeah, those are more typical with those sort
Interesting. Yeah, it isn't the like the game bit or whatever you might call it.
Well, because there's EPROMs in there.
Yeah.
And
so you want quick access.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it is a puzzler. And the game takes advantage of the SNES's Mode 7 sprite rotation abilities for pretty much the entirety of the gameplay. You as the player spins the map to get the ball to the goal. And you do this via the controller or the SNES mouse. So yes, it is mouse compatible. It can be a challenging game, but it's also very fun, or it can be very fun. And I think it's kind of an overlooked-ish gem-ish, kind of.
I think it's more, it's gem-ish.
It's gem adjacent.
It's not a jewel, but it is a precious gemstone.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the big thing is it takes a while to kind of wrap your head around the controls and get into the swing of it, and it never quite feels just right on those controls.
Yeah.
But man, that mouse, it is weird.
Yeah, we'll get into that, but it's a little funky. There are blocks to break, bumpers, bonus points, hazards that eat away at your timer, and in addition to rotating the screen, you can also jump, which occasionally comes in handy. The manual calls it a shake, which I think is kind of inaccurate and weird and confused me, but I kind of see it.
It's like if you were holding the maze and you shook it like that, it would make the ball jump.
Yeah.
I think really they just should have called it jump.
Many of you will probably comment, oh my god, this gameplay footage is giving me a headache, and you wouldn't be alone. I think a lot of people have that Virtual Boy effect where it gives them like a vertigo sort of feeling after playing it. So, if you are a Hard4Games boy or Hard4Games girl, you're probably wondering, why are you talking about this? I am so angry. Talk about differences. Are there differences between this and the retail version of the game? Yes.
Okay. I was gonna say, I'm betting yes, and I was right.
Oftentimes with localization prototypes, you don't have major differences, but this actually does have major differences in the controls. And by the way, setup and payoff, remember at the beginning of the episode when I mentioned being abandoned by God, that's the mouse controls.
Yeah.
That's what I was referring to here. We'll get into it in a second here.
You know, having tried the controls in both, I'd rather roll the rock up the hill over and over again.
I noticed this during the tutorial level. In the retail, it clearly mentions mouse compatibility and mouse controls. But in the prototype, it does not mention this. However, I will mention that after being a proud owner of an SNES mouse for 20 plus years and not using it once, I recently sold it about a month ago. So we are using the mouse capabilities in the SNES emulator. So when you see mouse footage, I had OBS specifically capture the cursor, so you can see what the cursor is doing while we're playing it. If you don't see a cursor, that means that it's gamepad footage. Is it 100% accurate to an SNES mouse? No, probably not.
No.
But for the sake of this review, it's gonna be fine, everybody. And I'm not buying an SNES mouse for on the ball. I'm sorry. I don't
forgive you.
I don't care enough.
I don't forgive you.
I know there are gonna be some purists that are like, you didn't absolutely analyze every. I don't care. I'm just gonna say it right. I don't care.
I will say, even with the real mouse, it doesn't feel any better.
Okay, so let's go into the retail mouse controls. So, rotating the map clockwise, you move it horizontally right. Horizontally left is counterclockwise. That's relatively intuitive. I'm moving back and forth.
It's like you're holding the top.
Yeah, you're twisting it, back and forth, twisting it. It makes sense. Now, here's the funky thing, is that vertically down and up seems to give the map a slight tilt. Strangely enough, when I looked at the manual, it mentions there are no vertical mouse controls. It's only for the menu. So this is like some sort of leftover that they kept in there.
Weird.
And I was very careful to make sure my mouse was not moving to the side whatsoever. I even put like barriers up to make sure that I wasn't like accidentally going left or right. And it still gave the map a slight tilt to either side. So I found that to be a little bit strange. Left click is jump, or as the manual calls it, shake, like you're going like this to the board. Right click is pause. Honestly, I found it to be more intuitive than you, but I think we could both agree about the prototype controls.
Yeah. Prototype controls were dreamt by an insane person.
So here are the prototype controls. Horizontal movement, not applicable. Doesn't do anything. Vertical up and down is to rotate the map counterclockwise, which is very unintuitive feeling.
Mouse right and left are fast or slow clockwise.
Yes.
Which is, if you think that sounds clunky,
it's absolute chaos. The up-down is not very intuitive for a rotation of the map, but then having one rotation be up-down and the other, the clicks, it fries your brain. The proto mouse controls are nearly unusable, and sort of attempting the constant mental gymnastics of the vertical up-down for counterclockwise and left-right for the clockwise is crazy difficult. What about the Japanese version? Well, the Japanese version doesn't have mouse controls. It doesn't mention them in the tutorial, like our localization prototype. But if you play the Japanese version, Cameltry, they are the same as the prototype. Cameltry mouse controls are again not mentioned in the tutorial level. Both the Japanese version of the game and the SNES mouse were released in summer of 1992. Cameltry for the Super Famicom was June 26, 1992. The SNES mouse was July 14th, 1992. So it seems like the mouse controls likely came into development at a very late stage in the game, and they were not ready for the Japanese release. That is my guess.
That would make sense.
Nor was the mouse available for a full month at the time of its release, right? So you'd be releasing something for something that is not even out yet. But the mouse controls were fully implemented for the US release. That game came out months later in November of 1992. Now, here's the funky thing. Originally, I was like, these prototype controls are so unintuitive that only a madman would create them. So I'm like, you know what it must be? It must just be the SNES is just like kind of assigning things to the mouse and just
reading it as a controller being very confused.
But then we looked it up earlier, and
that's not how it works.
That's not how it works. Apparently, all mouse controls are supposed to be in software. So that means if I were to plug in the SNES mouse and try to use it in a game that doesn't have compatibility,
it just doesn't do anything.
It doesn't do anything. And I have not tried that, but because again, I sold my mouse.
I have, and I remember it not doing anything because I was like, oh man, this would be really cool.
Yeah.
Like here and there, you find some games where a mouse would make sense, like Shadowrun. I think there is actually a ROM hack that added mouse support, which would make that game infinitely better.
But my thought process was like, this must be an accident. This must just be a nuance of the SNES emulator reading the mouse, whatever. No. Which means someone programmed it this way. And maybe it was a test. Maybe it was half developed. I don't know. But someone still did it. Some madman still looked in the face of God and said no. As far as other differences go, the Japanese version, the lady that teaches you in the tutorial and gives you the game over has green attributes. The American version has blue.
Mm-hmm.
This has the blue of the American version. So they were transitioning it over.
Yeah.
Like it is in English, and it has that palette swap, but it just doesn't have the controls yet.
Yeah, interesting. It's like a hybrid.
If you had to have mouse controls, the retail version is probably the best you could make them and map them. I think they are intuitive. Are they fun? No.
No.
But I do think as far as the mapping goes, I think it makes sense. It just is not good for the retail version. So yeah, that is on the ball. And again, normally with localization prototypes, you don't have big differences.
No, not usually.
But this was this was a difference in terms of how you can play the game.
Yeah.
Which is pretty significant. Big thank you to Fenris Wolf Retro for sending this over. It was already dumped. It's going to be released. We'll put a link in the description below. But they sent it anyways with a bunch of lollipops.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
I was happy about that. Again, not what I was expecting regarding this, but very pleasantly surprised that we got some differences and that this will be released. So thank you everybody for watching. We really do appreciate it. If you want to support the show, we have a Patreon. We got a members program.
And if you want to yap with us, we've got a Discord, and the link is in the description.
Mm-hmm. I set the prototype down over there.
Yeah, you did.
I have to say that verbally because there's been so many comments where it's like, they drink around prototypes. People don't realize that we have them on completely separate spaces at all times. No. Separate spaces at all times. Anyways, cheers. Have a good one.
Send my drink to them, they drink them.
Baby,